What's up, guys? How's it going? This is a follow-up video to the already super long glass lizard video. Because I realized at the end of the video, I was like, oh, I didn't actually talk about how to grow as a glass lizard, which is, a big part of why we're here. So I wanted to make a separate video, sort of like episode 9B, about how to grow as a glass lizard, and also what you can learn from glass lizards in your own growth. So I don't think this video is going to be nearly as long as the last one. Probably going to be like a normal length video. So as I mentioned in the previous video, the hallmark of a glass lizard, if you want to think of it like watering a lawn, right? A standard Myers-Briggs type, somebody who has, ENFP with ST blast last, right? Or someone like Dave, an INTJ missing consume. That's what they're going to be doing is they're going to be intensely watering half the lawn with the other half of the lawn just like being completely ignored, right? And then they will wreck their lives, so to speak, right? Because what will happen is they're like, well, that half of the lawn is not my responsibility. It is not my job to deal with that half of the lawn. And then somebody will come in and be like, but we need this half of the lawn to do things. And then there's the big fight and then the blow up. And I can't believe that I didn't, there's nobody covered for me, whatever, right? And then their pattern of growth is really, really specific. And it's very much focused on, okay, I now have to water all of the lawn, right? And it's something that, if you understand it sort of through that lens, you can really see where Dave and Shannon are coming from with the advice that they give of the like, you are responsible. You are responsible for everything. I think I'm going to turn the hat around. Yeah, let's not block the light from my face. Guys, we're professionals here. Okay. And when you look at it in that lens, you're like, oh, right. Now I understand why they harp so goddamn much on the concept of responsibility. Because if we're talking about the most Myers-Briggs people, right? People who generally are in the middle-ish, who are not the glass lizards at the end of the spectrum, they are ignoring so much of that half of the board that the rhetoric to like kick their ass and get them into gear is very much about turn your head, focus on your weak spots. Right? Take responsibility for the whole lawn. You are responsible for the whole lawn. Well, that kind of rhetoric falls short certainly for me, but I think for a lot of glass lizards as well, because we're already watering the whole lawn in a lot of ways, right? So again, for reference, I am an INTJ with sleep last. So meaning I'm double activating on my demon masculine SE at the bottom of my stack, which is what makes me a glass lizard, doubling up on a demon function, particularly when it's your last function that's being doubled up. Now you're like hardcore for real glass lizard, right? So that kind of rhetoric of like, take responsibility, focus on your weak spots. To us, we're like, I'm already watering the whole fucking lawn. What do you want from me? And there was certainly a lot of tension for me. Sort of not just getting past the rhetoric and its punchiness, but also understanding like, what are you actually talking about? Like, I heard that advice and it didn't feel applicable to me, even though I wanted it to be. Where it was like, I want to be wrong about this. I want you to be right because you're seeing results in reality. but like I'm literally doing all the things that you're saying, right? So I think that for glass lizards, we have to go at least one level deeper, right? But I think that there are a lot more nuances to growth as a glass lizard. And a lot of it for me comes down to knowing where to rob from when. So for me, again, this is my INTJ subjective, right? I'm going to be using a lot of that language. This may or may not apply to you, given your functions, given your animal order, whatever, right? The way that I subjectively experience it is that I'm not running around the lawn. Like there's not a franticness, or at least I try for there not to be any sort of frantic manic energy watering different parts of the lawn, right? I think, again, there are a million analogies because Dave and I are both INTJs and we just love our fucking analogies. But another way to look at it is if you have like a big stove, right? So like I have a gas stove that has 4 different areas, ranges, whatever, right? I can cook 4 things at once if I want to at varying temperatures and varying degrees, right? And then there's the one that's the regular, and then there's a power burner, and then there's like a middle. Oh my God, there's a middle one. I can cook shit down the middle of my grill. Oh boy. See, this is sensor gathering win, man. Good Lord. Okay, so we have the normal burner, the power burner, and that's the back left. And then we got the quick boil on the bottom right, and then it's the simmer burner on the back right. Okay, so if I were an actual chef, I would know what all of that means. I do not. But I can sort of guess that, like, we're talking about different times, different temperatures. Like, I'll put tea on the power burner because I need to boil the water fat, right? So, like, use their eggs. So I sort of look at that and go, okay, that's how I want to treat all of my different functions, right? There are times, so like, for instance, New Year's Eve, right? This past year, I did a big, like, long meditation retreat. Not retreat, but it was like a 7-hour meditation ordeal. That's the equivalent of me putting my NF on the power burner for a little bit, right? And then I got to take it out, right? So I have all of these different ways to cook my needs to be cooked. Because here's the thing. If I live too long in SF consume land, right? There are 2 problems with that. One, I'm just going to burn the fuck out, right? I cannot put my SF consume on the power burner for that long without burning my food, right? But more importantly, if I'm all in on working on my double activated masculine sensor, it's like, yeah, bro, we're doing the, the masculine bro sensory thing. We're doing it. I'm all in, man. Fuck my intuition. I'm all about the demon work, right? That's cool, good. I obviously need to continue to improve my masculine sensory gathering. But my last animal, my NF sleep, my FNI and my MFI sleep, well, now I'm ignoring my last animal by doubling up on one of my demons. Huh. Okay. Do you see the little, right? There's an obvious conflict here, right? Because now it's like, okay, well, does that just mean I'm always in a demon state? Right? Because if you think about it, my first animal, my NITE blast, has one of those functions, my NI, attached to my last animal, right? So it's not that I'm in a demon state when I'm blasting, but it's not full blast, ha-cha-cha, right? It's not I'm not doubling up on both of those, right? On my two savior functions. My second animal, play, is in a lot of ways like it's easy in a lot of ways if you wanted to type me as like an ENTJ doubling up on ST play. Yeah, I'm not that, but I can see why you would see that because my TE and my SE are my double activated functions. But my SE is a demon, so now even when I'm in a savior state, I'm also in a demon state. And with my consume, that should be the hardest thing in the world because they're my two demon functions. But one of those functions is attached to my play, which is my double activated function. And then going back around to sleep, there's certainly a demon quality because it's my last animal, but it's attached to my first function. So it's not even that much of a demon, right? So the way that I sort of see myself as a glass lizard going through the world, at least right now, is utility player doesn't quite get there, but the idea is I'm always in a savior state and I'm always in a demon state. It is incredibly rare that I am ever fully in a savior state. It's also incredibly rare that I am super fully in a demon state. Obviously, though, that can happen, right? Of course, we all feel put upon. Of course, we all feel like rock stars sometimes. Like that's just live enough years on the planet and you'll like check all these boxes, right? That's just how it works. So what's an enormous benefit, I think, of being a glass lizard and being able to tap into glass lizard energy, if you want to put it that way, is that I have a lot of flexibility in a lot of ways when it comes to moving the different pans around, right? I can look at like, okay, yeah, that pan needs to go there. God, I don't really want to put my NF on the power burner, but like, all right, yeah, I can move some stuff around. I can, shift and rotate and pick one up with one hand and one with the other and like move it around. Yep. Yeah, we can make that work. I want to grab, just because I like props, whatever. We're doing props now. Hang on. So I have, right. So I got this little tea kettle and I got this pan. So what can be tricky is if you have all four burners occupied, well, then how do you move something, right? There's like, I know there's extended metaphor, but there's also a very literal problem here of like, how do I like Indiana Jones it, where I like take one and take the other and like swap? What is happening here, right? The way that I would, right? Okay, here's the thing. And if you have like a tea kettle and a pan, okay, these are grabbable with one hand, right? So I can literally, I have the pan, I have the tea kettle, I can pick them up at the same time and swap them, right? Here's where you get into trouble. And this is an issue that it's not that glass lizards are immune from this, but this doesn't happen as often. Welcome to your standard Myers-Briggs INTJ, right? Because now to move, one of the reasons why it's so fucking hard to move, right, and why people get stuck in their saviors is because their pot's too goddamn big. Because they've been cooking this enormous pot of pasta or, whatever they're cooking on the power burner for fucking ever. Well, now it's like, okay, well, if I'm cooking the last thing and all four ranges are occupied, how do I move my demon into the savior slot, right? Like, where does it go? And I think, unfortunately, There's, I think that my gas stove gave me the answer because there is that middle slot. It's not perfectly, this can only go here, 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 right? There is a little bit of play to it. I actually, you know what? We're gonna take a field trip because that's how these videos go. Okay, so we're gonna put this here. Let's go there. You go there. You go there. Field trip to Raj's kitchen. Okay, so we can sort of see some pots, some pans, right? That's going over there, right? Just for the purposes of the exercise, let's throw something else. Do I even have another thing? We're just going to use this for sake of argument. Obviously, I'm not ever going to put that on a stove because that's plastic. I'm not stupid, I promise. Okay, so you got these 4 pots. And so I'm like, all right, so this guy here, this is my demon function right here. How the hell do I get that over there? Well, if you look at the stove, there's a little room in the middle, right? There's a little bit of room in the middle. And I think that, when we're talking about function flow, it's not like putting blocks places, right? I think that depending on how uncooked this is and depending on how much you've been ignoring it, just take it off. Move this one here. Move this one here, right? And it's not the end of the world, right? If you just because look, if it's totally uncooked or mostly uncooked, it's taking it off the stove is not necessarily the end of the world. Try not to do it, right? But if you have to, fine, right? But you can also get maybe some fancy with it, right? Maybe just sort of move that there. And then we move this here, and then we move this up, and then we move this over, right? This is definitely a better way to do it, for sure, right? And just slowly inching it across. That's the function flow that we're looking for. Now, let's say, we're doing the glass lizard thing. Let's say instead of a big pot, we have, right? This is what a glass lizard's stove looks like, right? Because, yes, this is the biggest bowl, for sure. Yes, it is hard to move, and certainly if it's full of water, moving it with one hand, it's going to be a bitch. But I don't know, if I needed to switch these two, I can just switch them, right? And then this bowl's small. So it's going to go on the power burner for a second, but only for a second. And then I'm going to put this one on the power burner. And I'll put this one on the power burner, right? And so I'm just moving shit around, and I'm not really leaving a void. Now, obviously, if somebody comes in, let's say I have, a gravy in the small one and a chicken in the big one, and someone comes in and is like, all right, we need 15 pounds of gravy. Well, now I'm screwed, right? Because my gravy bowl is very small, right? And then over time, I'm going to want to upgrade and, downgrade, whatever. But I think that just to sort of wrap up this analogy that I did not expect coming, but yeah, here we are. That's what we do. I think that the real goal in a lot of ways, you want to use this pot in OP land, in this extended metaphor, right? This is a sometimes pot, right? I think a good first step, if you're, trying to become more balanced, trying to look at the glass lizards and be like, They're not perfect. They have plenty of issues of their own, and they're like kind of running around the lawn like crazy people more often than it's helpful. But they're doing some stuff right, and I think I can learn some stuff from them. The first thing I would recommend is switching out this pot that you need 2 hands for something that is large, but smaller and a little more malleable. You're not as stuck. And now as you're doing the growth thing, now you can start to move some stuff around, and now you can do stuff more easily. And, look, the magical Christmas land scenario is that you have 4 bowls that are as large as they can be, but that still only require 1 hand to move and pick up and move around. Because you do ultimately, as humans, right, as cooks, it's a slightly different story, but like as humans, we want to have that flexibility. We want to be able to have that utility to move things from burner to burner, to be trying new stuff, to be moving stuff around, and to not be stuck on, well, if I want to cook something hot, it has to go on this burner, and I can't move it from this burner because it's too hot and too heavy. All right, that's all I got for today. Thank you for playing Kitchen Time with Raja, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.